very hot topic. We're all getting a lot of questions about this right now. And it's how we are leading and managing our executive education business in today's turbulent times. And I'm really thrilled that we have two panelists here joining us. So there's Dean Sherif Kamel from the Onsi Sawiris School of Business at the American University of Cairo in Egypt. I'll give everybody a chance to introduce themselves. I think maybe I think quite a few actually know Sherif because he just hosted the Directors Conference in Egypt, and it was a wonderful event, and he was very, very present. And I have to say, we were incredibly impressed by the school and also the architecture, the buildings, the infrastructure, and the students. It was wonderful to see you here again, Sherif.
Thank you.
Our second panelist is Associate Dean Nigel Phang, Associate Dean at the Nanyang Business School, which is part of the Nanyang Technological University, known as NTU. And Nigel will also introduce himself. I think he's got some slides to share as well. I think what's also very interesting is that he is also a professor in OB and change management. So of course, very, very important in these turbulent times. So we'll start with an introduction by Sherif and Nigel, a quick introduction. Then I have some questions actually to get us started, and then I'll open up the floor to you for your questions. Sherif, would you like to start?
Sure. Thank you, Nathalie. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, depending where you are. I want to iterate it was a true delight to host the Directors Conference earlier in May this year. And I look forward to reconnecting with my colleagues across the community. Very, very quick introduction about myself and the school. So my background is actually technology management. I've been with the school for 34 years. Started my career in the government and then moved to AUC, as we call it, the American University in Cairo. I started off typical doing research and indulging in academic issues. And then in 2002, I was appointed as Director of Executive Education. 2008, I became the first Associate Dean of the school. And because executive education is a centerpiece in what we offer, the first Associate Dean position was for executive education. Interestingly, the university was established in 1919, and the very first programs that were offered by university were community development and training. The roots of the school were turning 80 years old in 2 years, so we started in 1947, and our very first programs in 1966 were actually executive education. In 2009, I became the dean of the school, but don't freak out. I haven't been dean since then. I was there for a few years, and then I left AUC a few years later, moved to Canada for a few years, and then came back 7 years ago. So as my colleagues always tell me, you are in your 2.0 version. So I'm reaching the end of my second sort of spell as dean. And again, as I said, executive education plays a centerpiece in what we do.
Right. Thank you. Thanks very much, Sherif. Nigel?
Yes, hi. Very good day, everybody. So I'm Nigel Phang. I'm the Associate Dean of the Nanyang Executive Education under the Nanyang Business School. So maybe a very quick background of myself as well as the school. So actually, I came from the industry. I've been in the industry for 20 over years before I joined the business school about 10 years ago. So I've been in various roles in different industry from government to consulting to manufacturing and so on. And when I joined the business school, I think it is also timely where the school actually have a very ambitious plan to grow the Nanyang executive education. I only took on the associate dean role of the executive education just after COVID in 2021. And I think at that time, even during COVID, to some of you may be a surprise that the executive education actually has been growing as well during COVID period. And I'll explain a bit more in terms of the Singapore context. And about a year ago, I also took on the Associate Dean role of the ASEAN and China program. So this is also a very significant portfolio. As you're probably aware, Singapore is kind of in the center of Southeast Asia, very close to regional countries we call it ASEAN or Southeast Asia. And it is also very close to both China and India. So two very large countries, right? And taking on this portfolio allow us to also grow many executive programs in the region in the last 2 to 3 years. So a little bit of context and also about the Singapore situation. And in Singapore, as many of you are aware, we are a very open economy. So anything that happens in geopolitics and so on almost instantaneously affect how the economy performs. So I think the government knows this and they have been promoting this lifelong learning mission for more than 10 years. And one of the missions of the Nanyang Executive Education is also to support the initiative of lifelong learning. So take, for example, one of the policy that in Singapore, if you are the Singapore citizen or permanent residents, if you attend our executive program, open enrollment program, the government will actually subsidize 70% of the course fee. If you are 40 years old and below. If you are 40 years old and above, the subsidies can go as high as 90%. So it is a way to signal, to encourage the citizens to embrace lifelong learning. And so I think that kind of fits very nicely to the mission of executive education, because my division focuses primarily the non-degree bearing courses, short courses, as well as customized program, immersion programs. And then in the case of ASEAN and China, we do have some very niche master's degree programs in collaboration with the university in these countries as well. Right, so I think that kind of gives you an overview. Maybe I'll just pause here and of course later on if you have any questions, I do have one slide to give you further insight to the operating environments of the Nanyang Business School. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I think it's very interesting because you're both in very different regions, obviously, Singapore and Egypt, one more gateway to Asia, the other one more to Africa, but also considered growth regions, right? In our industry. So could you perhaps maybe let's start at a high level in terms of sort of geopolitical tensions that are happening right now in the world. Do you have any example of how this is affecting your specific institution, let's say in your national context? Sherif?
Sure. Thank you, Nathalie. So Egypt has been for many years in a region that was going through a rough time, let me put it in a mild way, and that for sure affects many aspects. In the context of the business school, 40,000 feet, obviously, and we'll come into that maybe later in the conversation. International students coming in, traveling, security, and so on. Usually when you're on the ground, it's a completely different perception. You guys have been to Cairo, you've attended the UNICON Directors Conference, but it's different, and I perfectly understand when you're away, the picture, the sense, the perception is very different. But did it have implication on our programs? Absolutely, yes. And I go back to what Nigel referred to with the proliferation of blended programs and online programs post-COVID. But actually, we started that even before that, given the tension that has been around for quite some time, a few decades, I should say. That was our only way to grow, to meet our aspirations and our mission, not just in executive education, but at the school at large, but also to reach out to different communities. And this was a core objective for us in executive education. So we devised programs and policies that could allow more learners, I should say, to enroll in our programs. That doesn't mean that we are advocates of fully online programs, but the blended model where a small percentage of each program requires in-person attendance. Had it make a sort of an implication on our program? Absolutely yes. In terms of growth, we still, having been in the business for 59 years now, since 1966, we don't think we are where we want to be in terms of spread regionally. But again, as I say, you look at the Middle East, North Africa region, a lot of issues, but also even if you look in the context of Africa still, let alone issues related to financing, traveling even, visa issues as well. Yeah.
I understand that definitely. I mean, virtual learning, definitely the economic barriers are much lower. So it definitely makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so in terms of the geopolitical tension, actually we kind of benefit from that, to be honest, because of the US uncertainties, uncertainty in terms of students going to the US to study, and also in some of the universities in the US, as we are aware, in terms of the funding uncertainties and so on. So we have benefited on two fronts. One is on the faculty recruitment aspect, that this is actually a golden opportunity for the university to attract top scholars to Singapore. And I think Singapore have certain value propositions to attract these top scholars. The environments that is, is a very westernized society, very safe environments, and in terms of affordability, salary, competitiveness are all there. And of course, a very strong research environment as well. There are a lot of research fundings provided not just by government, but also by private institutions and so on. So this is one way of benefiting from the geopolitical tensions, of attracting very good scholars, primarily from the US, but also from other parts of the world as well. The second will be the participants. I think in the past, the US has always been a kind of a magnet for many universities around the region to send their students to US for immersion programs. But because of the uncertainty of the travel restrictions, the university had to quickly pivot and find a place to host the students for this kind of immersion experience. And Singapore being an East-West melting pot, and quite a number of universities, not just from Europe, but also even from China, and also from India, are now looking at Singapore at our school to host quite a number of these kind of immersion programs. Yeah, so I think that kind of summarizes how we benefit from the geopolitical tensions.
Thank you, Nigel. When you refer to immersion programs, is it specifically partnerships with other universities that send classes, basically, mostly degree?
Yeah, the MBA students coming here for a week of immersions, so.
Okay, understood, yeah. Right, perhaps one more question for me before I open it up. Let's switch to our clients. Obviously, this context has had a big effect on them. Can you share a little bit, what are you hearing from your clients in terms of the effect on them, the industries, how it's changing their demands? Sherif?
Sure. I step back for 10 seconds. We started sort of a ritual a good 10 years ago by having meetings on a quarterly basis with our corporate partners. What do they want? Changes that are on the ground. We've always believed that there is no one size fits all, even within the same context. Needs of different industries are different, which led us 4 years ago to produce our first edition of the Learning and Development Corporate Report, which shows a sample of 30 plus companies. What are the needs? What are the gaps? What are the talents that they're looking for? What are the continuous training and development that they need? And that helped us to reshape our offerings. So the keywords I want to share here moving forward, and everybody's talking about AI. It's not just AI. Digital transformation, the big picture, but also issues related to sustainability, related to climate, related to fourth industrial revolution, and many other aspects. How do they feature and how are they embedded in our programs? What people know about it, how can they use it? It's not just access to the knowledge, but also the adoption in their own context. And that has been the core focus for our programs as we have that conversation with our corporate partners. So some of the length of our programs were adjusted. Some of the program themselves were adjusted. Some were, ironically, which sometimes very difficult to do, were suspended. I mean, we don't just need to pile up the programs as we move forward, but we replace some of our programs with ones that are either the content is different, but also the delivery method is different. As clientele, we've seen some changes in the profile of our participants. Usually, we used to attract middle management and senior executives. But also, given the population in Egypt, which is like at least 70% are under the age of 30, and we cater for startups, corporates, banks, government agencies, civil society, we've seen a sort of a change in the average age of participants in our programs. And this applies to the open enrollment programs, but also for the business solutions, as we call it, which is the customized programs. So flexibility, adaptability, I think, are two keywords as we navigate not just your earlier spot-on question about the geopolitics and moving on to the hybrid model, but also the topics that we address through our programs.
Thank you. Yeah, flexibility, and I think from what you're saying, it also sounds like relevance.
Absolutely,
actually.
absolutely.
Thank you, Nigel.
So I guess what I hear from our clients are essentially a few areas. First is ESG, and I think this topic is relevant here in this region as well as even in China, because it's a very export-oriented kind of economy. And when you export your goods and services to, let's say, Europe or other countries, the ESG becomes one of the important components. So about a year and a half ago, we actually started an executive master's in sustainability management to target the chief sustainability officers in large corporations as well as the region. I think this is in a way to help scale up the capabilities for organization who wants to incorporate sustainability as part of the key business strategy. The second area, of course, no surprise to many, will be the area of AI and advanced manufacturing. I think these are also areas that cut across industries, where because we do a lot of customized programs, so they are also exploring how they can able to use AI to enhance productivity efficiency. But at the same time, on the flip side, AI is also about the risk management, the ethical use of AIs and so on, right? So these are the demands. And the other areas is also micro-credential. So unlike in the past where degree-bearing programs are kind of highly sought after, in the more developed economy like Singapore, the employers are kind of looking at the skill set of the professions, not so much of how many or what's the highest level degree you have, but how current is your knowledge, right? And you can only gain currency through sometimes many of these micro-credential programs. Having said that, as I mentioned, Southeast Asia covers many countries. They are all at different stages of their economy and development. In some countries, degrees still remain relevant and important. So like last year, we actually started an international MBA program in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. And we target particularly, mid-career professional. And because of the high ranking of the Nanyang Technological University and the Business School, so we have a pretty good take-up rate. And I think this also give us confidence that if you have to understand the various market, if you are bringing your executive education to outside your country, to other regions, then understanding the local demands and needs are certainly important as well. And of course, in the case of China, we see a lot more inquiries from Chinese business leader wanting to bring their business out, or they call it internationalizations, because of the Belt and Road initiatives, but many other reasons as well. So we have started quite a number of immersion programs for many of these senior executives here in Singapore.
Mm. I think a lot of that resonates, and definitely as well, yeah, the micro-credentials, the sort of the stackability, right, of this flexibility that the market is looking for, and maybe a blurring at one point between what we call executive education and degree programs, right? But maybe the market doesn't actually see it as differentiated. I was quite curious to see that you mentioned the ESG, because in some markets there's actually we've seen more of a downturn in interest on ESG, as the topic is very important, of course. But interesting that maybe in your area there's an increase in demand. Right, I have more questions, but I'll open it up to the floor. Does anybody have any questions you'd like to ask?
I think someone put their hand up.
No, I can keep going. And then I'll keep going, and then why don't you oh, Katie, otherwise you can also just stop, and bring up questions as they pop up. Katie.
Yeah, thank you. So very interesting. Thank you for sharing those insights. I heard a lot about immersion journeys, etc. But I was wondering, in terms of innovations, do you have a demand from your clients to actually include lots of innovations and new ways of learning in the teaching?
Yes, very good questions. Certainly, there are clients who, when I say clients, I'm talking about corporations. I think they are looking at ways to deliver programs in a more efficient manner. And I think, unfortunately, because of the COVID, there's a lot of fatigue on online learning. So we try to balance not to have too many online sessions. So a bit of hybrid. Like one example is we deliver sustainability programs for one of the leading consulting company in Asia Pacific region. So they wanted a blended solutions. So our professor actually structured the program in such a way that it starts with online and then physical classroom later on. And besides that, I think clients are also looking at how AI can help accelerate their learning. But this space, I think we are a lot more cautious because using AI or Gen AI is also something that we not quite sure how the content will actually serve the learning objectives. So it has to be a guided sessions in the classroom. Not so much of using that as a replacement. Yeah.
Sherif?
Yeah, sure. Great question. And I want to go back to something Nigel mentioned, and I was confining my answers to executive education. But over the last few years, and I would say that probably starting like 2022, we started integrating more and more executive education into our offerings in the school. Meaning, I would say it was a classical case of silos. We had the degree programs, the research centers, the case study center on one side, and executive education on the other side. Granted that some of the faculty were teaching there, but you don't see the seamless integration. That started to change. because of two things. The learning experience that our undergraduate and graduate students are looking for is more hands-on, is more practical, is more bringing the industry into the classroom and taking them to the industry. From the other end, our learners in executive education want to know more what the new talent, how they are thinking, how they are, how are they prepared, what do they know, what do they need to know, and so on and so forth. So that's, I mean, from answering Katie's point, from an innovation perspective, we started engaging both the corporates from one side and the learners and the students from the other side in projects, in field visits, in community development activities. And I think that I can't say we planned it that way, but the results were actually very interesting. So we started actually introducing development workshops on both sides for students and learners, where they get access to skills, knowledge, sort of gamification, role modeling, experiences that were not part and parcel or were not seamless part and parcel of what we used to offer before. So, and that, I think that in the long term, with further integration, will just serve one purpose, which is a better student and learner-centered experience for our participants.
Maybe I will also add on in terms of innovation. Again, going back to the earlier point, micro-credential, there are also a group of mid-career professional have not decided whether they want to invest their time and money to pursue a full degree, right? So we have actually created a kind of a learning pathway for them to start with a graduate certificate. It's not a degree-bearing program, but the content that they learned can actually enable them to transfer the credit to another program that we have. We call it the Flexi Masters. The Flexi Masters in the US, sometimes in some university, they call it the Mini Masters. And it is essentially a half course load of a typical full master's degree program. And the candidate actually will have 5 years candidature to decide whether, after they have completed the Flexi Masters, which only takes about 7 months to complete, to cover 5 modules, to decide whether they want to pursue within 5 years a full master's. If they do decide to do that, then they are allowed to have a credit transfer to the master's program. So in a way, it helps shorten their durations in the master's degree. Okay. So I think these are some of the innovations we come up with. It has been pretty successful. We so far in my divisions, we have 8 Flexi Masters program, covering from business analytics to finance to digital marketing and so on.
I'm impressed that you and you're leading this in your institutions, because universities are not known for being particularly agile, and I think bringing together the degree program, the longer courses with the executive education is the way forward. So I'm very impressed to see that from actually both of your schools. Are there any other questions from the group?
Nathalie, there are a couple in the chats.
Okay. Oh.
Hello, everyone. In the interest of time, I parked 2 questions in the chat window.
Oh, great.
So that everyone can read.
Do you want me to read them out, or?
I can do that.
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay, let me do this quickly. So there are 2 things that I face. One is how to ensure quality in our classroom, whether it is operations or learning, right? To do that, 1 or 2 years back, I established a quality assurance function, and I'm trying to build upon it, but there is one staff member working with me, and it's in many ways it's working, in many ways it's not. The second question is for the leadership programs that we host, all of us. So every 3 or 6 months, there is new topic emerging in the world that we see. So besides AI, so I was there in AUC Cairo. Most of the conversation was around AI, its tool and its effectiveness. But in our part, maybe in your countries, we talk about ESG, and it's by government, it's by ministries and all. We also talk about design thinking, innovation, financial management, ways to improve financial management, organizational development, self-development. So as we are moving ahead, there is complex nature of learning and development coming in, and our customer in our part is demanding every bit in 2 days or 4 days program. So how to ensure? So this is my question. It may be a complex question, but as a collective UNICON team, we can work together to build upon a common theme of leadership. It's just an idea around this question. Over to you.
Thank you. Let's pick up from that second one first, because it's the more complex one in a way.
Sure. Let me look at start with the second one as Nathalie asked. Actually, maybe AI was sort of the centerpiece when we together in Cairo, but it's not the only piece. I can tell you again, I was confining my answers to executive education, but then as part of the school, we've actually worked together, faculty and some of our partners, to introduce the Egypt First ESG barometer, covering 100 companies that are listed in the exchange. So ESG is again extremely important to I should say to all companies in Egypt, given the policies of the government. But again, as you rightly said, priorities might change from one region to the other, from country to the other, from one time to the other, but that doesn't mean they're out of the picture. And it's the school, which, by the way, in the context of Egypt, we have 128 universities. My school is probably the smallest of all. But yet again, we pick and choose the topics that are relevant, that are timely, that can have an impact, and we try to invest time in it. So, for example, the ESG barometer is one of them. The corporate learning and development is another one. The women on boards is a third one. These are random sort of examples I'm sharing. Not all of them are fully integrated in executive education, but executive education as sort of offerings at the school play a major part in the design and then sometimes in the delivery of the sort of advocacy of those programs. I move to the first point, which I think spot on, quality in the classroom, assessment, and so on. We are a school that is accredited by ACSB, EQUIS, and AMBA. We also, as an American institution located in Egypt, we're part of Middle States, so we get accredited by Middle State, in addition to two local accrediting bodies. So at any point in time, we're preparing accreditation reports. That puts us all up, because we have 6. So that puts us all the time under pressure to look at our program, revisit the program, adapt the program, change the program, update the programs as we move forward. Yet, there is no dedicated accreditation or assessment to executive education. I've been on the board of ACSB for several years. Last year, I was the chair of the board, and I tried to build the momentum around sort of business schools and higher education institutions that are offering executive education should have a scheme that is that scrutinizes, critically assesses the quality of the programs that are being offered, whether it's short-term programs or long-term certificates of diplomas. And I think that may be something that UNICON should look at as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
To respond to that question, my reaction is always been, it starts with upstream, the demand, where the demand comes from, and understanding who are the target learners, what they are looking for in the program. For Nanyang Business School, we are fortunate in the sense that we are housed under the Nanyang Technological University. So it's a full-fledged university that we can leverage on many faculties across different disciplines. To deliver a quality program, nowadays employers are looking for interdisciplinary subject matter expert. So I don't think the subject matter experts all lies in the business school. So we actually collaborate very closely with our colleagues from other colleges, like College of Engineering. We have Asia School of Environments. We have also energy research centers and so on and so on. So we are able to tap on these very good resources to ensure the delivery of the programs that meets the needs of the industry. And secondly, we also try to have a good balance of academic faculty as well as the industry practitioner coming to the programs to teach. Of course, we qualify them. We ensure these people are comfortable to teach in a university environments so that the participants are learning not just from academia, but also from the researchers, for the practitioner in this field. Of course, again, similar to Sherif, we are also accredited by different accreditation body, AACSB, and so on. So constantly, we have to ensure all these programs are of a high standard, high quality. And internally, in my classroom, for example, I always have one class manager supporting the faculty, and also at the same time ensuring instant feedback that we get from participants. If there are any issue in regards to the topics and so on, we are able to immediately make adjustment. So these are many things we can do. Yeah, so I hope I have answered your questions.
Thank you. Yeah, I think one of the answers to this could also lie in impact measurement. But I think for that, we need a whole other webinar because that's a big topic, I think, that we're all kind of trying to figure out. So yeah, one for the future. There's a question from Samir on the chat for Nigel. Could you give more details on future skills and executive education relation in Singapore, please?
Okay, so the Singapore government, although I mentioned they provide the what we call the Skills Future credit to the citizens as well as the permanent residents, they are very specific. They call out 4 specific areas. One is the care economy because of the aging populations, and I don't think Singapore is unique in a sense, but certainly this is one important areas that the government want to invest capability development due to the aging populations. The second area is the green economy, and this obviously ties in nicely with the ESG agenda. Just for information, 2030, all the companies in Singapore will have to bear the carbon tax. So now they are going through a very rigorous carbon audit and getting themselves ready and so on. So, if you have a polluting industry, you have to pay a very heavy price. Yeah. And then the other area is the digital economy. And of course, this is about AI and other area. And the fourth area is advanced manufacturing, in particular, the IR 4.0 kind of areas. So these areas, we look at it very closely to ensure our programs kind of align as much as possible to these 4 key areas so that the participants can get the kind of subsidies from the government. But having said that, we also have participants not from Singapore, from the regional countries, because I think they recognize the importance of these kind of topics. So of course, they don't get the subsidies from the Singapore government, but yet they are willing to come to our programs to participate. Yeah.
Thank you, Nigel. So I actually have a question a little bit about the university level challenges. And I don't know if you're affected as much as, let's say, a lot of the American universities right now in terms of budget constraints and policy changes. I mean, even here at INSEAD, we're feeling it. So I'm just sort of curious. Yeah, are you being affected at all? How is executive education positioned in this kind of context where a lot of these universities are being challenged? Sherif?
Sure. So, sure, we have challenges, but I think we had challenges way before the new policies that came to to our world the last year or so. Yet again, as I said, because when the university started over 100 years ago, the very first programs that were offered were training for the community. So training is a centerpiece in what the university is interested in. So you look at the business school, and it's one of 5 schools. Every school has its own executive education operations. But there is also a school of continuing education. So you get a sense that these schools compete with each other. And in some sense they do, but also they align and collaborate. You want to know where the university at large is positioning executive education and extended education. So we, from 1919 all the way to 2008, we were few buildings downtown Cairo in the center of the city, about 6 acres. We moved 17 years ago to 260 acres campus, which is massive outside the city. The second phase of the development is taking place now. It's called Campus 2026, which is basically 3 different projects. One of them is an extended education hub. So the extended education hub is like a turnkey solution for either youngsters who want to get trained, early career who want to sort of see what's going on, what are the programs that they need to learn, and so on and so forth, all the way to the C level. So from a positioning perspective, it's up there. But then comes the challenges, and I think it's no specific to the school or to university, is the more or less the hiring freeze, the downsizing and the right sizing, if we want to be politically correct, in terms of the headcount. At the same time, I don't think it very much affected the operations of the school. I know when I speak to my colleagues in executive education, they look at me, "What do you mean? I mean, we've been cutting on the headcount for a long time, and we've been more and more pressured." Yet again, you look at the performance, at least over the last 2 years, it was growing at 20, 40, and 60%. So something is right there, you know. Having said that, you look at the headcount of the school, 45% of it is in executive education. I mean, the staff, the professional staff. Yeah. So it's a mix of real challenges, yet again, a window of opportunity that at least over the last 3 years was manifested.
Thank you, Sherif. Yeah, those challenges resonate. Nigel?
Oh yeah. So in the interest of time, I will just answer this. That yes, we also face a challenge in terms of the budget cut. Not for the same reason as those you see in the US, but because of the declining population. Right? Because our fundings is based on the Ministry of Education, the number of undergraduate coming to the universities. So with the declining population, obviously, we don't have as many students, in the future. So the only way we can kind of compensate for this, obviously, executive education play a more important role in the universities, also as well as my counterparts who are in postgraduate programs. To make sure that we continue to offer attractive programs for the working professionals and so on. So in that sense, that the revenue stream has to come from these kind of programs. Of course, on top of the research grant that the research faculty gets to also bring in more research funds to support hiring of faculties and so on.
Sure. Sorry, just to make the decline in the population attending the courses is due to the aging population. Is that the link?
Yeah, with aging, we don't have as many babies compared to the past. So you can predict like what is going to happen 15, 20 years from now, right? Your future supply. of the local talents. And for very sensitive, of course, like all countries, you cannot have only foreign students coming into your undergraduate programs.
Absolutely.
So that needs to be better as well.
Understood, yeah. There's a question on the chat from Furkan. The question is around attracting and retaining good talent in program management. How easy or difficult is it in your context? How well does the university support? How much flexibility does the center have in offering attractive packages, especially including variable pay for program business development? So yeah, I think it's general talent sort of in the non-faculty side. Sherif?
Okay, that's a spot-on question. It's a tricky question, and there's no perfect answer for it, I should say. Yes, this has been a challenge to us. Given my longevity with the institution, I can easily say that in the 90s and the 2000s, we used to attract talent from industry. Now it's the reverse. Given some of the constraints. But the constraints here, I have to explain what do I mean by constraints. The constraints are not budgetary. The formula we have is interesting. If we have a certain targets, if we exceed those targets, and I won't get into the details, it would be very complicated, but if we exceed those targets, depending how much we exceed those targets, we can keep up to 50% of the differential between what we targeted and the actual surplus we realized. So that puts us in a position where we can be more flexible and we can offer our staff some incentives.
We being the business school.
We being the business school, yeah. Actually, we being the executive education of the business school.
Okay.
In terms of the variables, like quotas and sales quotas and the like, we used to have that, but I should claim that I was the person who stopped it back in 2005, I think, because I thought it had more negative than positive implications. Because I would see that in executive education, whether you are the person who does the sales or the person who develops the material or who runs the show or who administers the course, everybody has a role. But then the way it was done, it was only those who sell the programs were getting a cut from the surplus. So I stopped that years ago. And I think this is a more fair sort of distribution. But yes, we lose talent. The economy plays a part in that. If you go back 9 years ago, $1 used to equal to 6 Egyptian pounds. Today, it's 50 pounds. So you can see the back-to-back devaluation 4 times over the last 9 years. And that had implications on the in-pocket sort of salary for the staff. And I don't blame them. They look for better opportunities. But again, that's my nature. I always try to look at the positive side of it. We try harder and harder to find talent, younger talent, who are sort of maybe in the earlier part of their career, which helped us, by the way, reduce the average age across the board, who are interested to have a few years under their belt with us at the school.
Thank you.
Yeah. So maybe I detail to and echo to what Sherif shared as well. I came from the consulting industry background, so I know the plus and minus of having that kind of commission-based incentives. But in executive education, being in the university environments, I think we have to be careful of bringing that kind of practice to this kind of environment. And it may sound a bit cliche, but I guess as the saying goes, people join organization, leave the manager, right? So I pay more attention in terms of when my staff leave the organization, is it a push or a pull factor? So if it's a pull factor, I congratulate them for able to find a better paying jobs. I don't think our role is to compete with the industries. Our role is to groom their capabilities so their skill set are being valued by the industry, so that I can continue to attract good talents to join my team. And secondly, I think it's also about building that kind of camaraderie. So we spend a lot of effort to ensure the team have regular sessions to get together, and so on, so that I think those are less tangible but equally important.
Thank you. Yes, I think compensation is crucial, but I think we are all in these roles because we have a passion, I think, for learning or teaching, and I think that's what really keeps us going. So maybe we only have a few minutes left. Maybe closing remarks, a little bit more looking to the future. What do you see coming in the next sort of couple of years? Anything that we should know in terms of how we should prepare for the future? Any optimism looking forward? Sherif?
Sure. I think I already said it. I'm optimistic. I always like to look at the glass half full. And I think that's partly because of my discipline, my background, technology. So in technology, if you deal with technology, I've been dealing with technology for almost 4 decades. There is always something new, and you need to be prepared, and you need to be flexible, and you need to be adaptive. And I think the whole space of higher education, not necessarily executive education, will see massive transformation over the next few years. And I'm not saying 10, 20 years. I think it's much quicker than that. Let me just get one thing out of the way, which is I look at AI as augmented intelligence rather than artificial. And I also look at it at HI rather than AI, the human intelligence. I don't see machines replacing people. I see better equipped, better trained, better educated, better exposed people who are going to probably replace those who are less educated, less exposed, less access to whatever that is happening. So I think our jobs will be to try to, we've been talking for a decade now about the open working space and the co-working space. I think we should be talking more of the open learning space where the boundaries are removed, and it's not confined to the classroom or the seminar session, but it's beyond that, beyond the room, beyond the campus, and opened up to the community. Egypt is, by the way, one of the highest countries in the world when it comes to people having degrees. So you look at the population, and the number of people having degrees is massive. I mean, it's one of the highest in the world. Yet are the skill set, the needs of the future of work, the needs of the industry as we move forward, because of all the disruptions and development that are taking place, are met through those programs they attend and degrees they attend? I'm not sure. So the blending, not just of the in-person and the online, but the blending of the degree programs and the non-degree content that our future entrepreneurs and policymakers and executives and people working in startups and civil society and government and so on need to have access to will be the core of our attention. How flexible, progressive, passionate, do we have the appetite to do that will actually signify how successful we are or we continue to be in an ever-changing environment.
Thank you. I love the open learning space. I'll be taking that from y'all. I'll give you credit. Nigel?
Yeah.
Very similar to what Sherif shared, but I think we are also looking at both domestic as international. So the future domestically work more closely with the various professional body, the government agencies, to ensure we remain relevant to their needs. And internationally, of course, with talent mobility, good talents are very mobile. So whether our programs also seen as relevant to their future career aspirations. So understanding what they are looking for and so on. So I'll give you an example. We have been partnering with Shanghai Jiao Tong University in Shanghai, China, for the last 23 years in offering a Chinese EMBA program. And up to today, it's still running. In fact, next year I'm teaching the course. So I think this is something that we want to continue ensuring that we are relevant to a particular country or particular target that we are going after. So I think there's still a lot of opportunity because Southeast Asia or Asia in general are still in a very fast-paced growing. Indonesia is growing very rapidly, same as Malaysia and so on. So I think we see a lot of opportunities in the future.
Thank you, Nigel. Yeah. And I think from what you're saying, partnerships are key, right? So I think this network, let's say the UNICON network, is a very good example, right? How we can also partner together for these to develop the future, really the future of learning. So thank you so much, both of you. I've learned a lot. I've got 2 pages of notes, and I wish we could go on, but I know everybody has meetings to get to. So very grateful. Thank you. For everybody, there is a second webinar on the same topic. I think it's 5 p.m. tomorrow, right, Danielle?
It depends on where you are. Yes.
Yeah, sorry, in France, CET.
For me, it's 4 p.m. in Lisbon.
You're
Yes.
automatically registered, I think, by having registered for this one. So it's great if you can attend. And I also encourage you to look on the UNICON site. There's a pulse survey that we did on navigating uncertainty, which also actually has a lot of data on the challenges that we're all facing right now. So thank you very much. Have a good day, good evening, and we'll see you soon.
Nathalie,
Very
just
much.
a
Thank you.
final
Right.
reminder as well, our team development conference, we're closing registrations on Friday, so hurry up if you haven't yet registered. After that, we'll be opening a waiting list.
In Washington. So see you in Washington.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.